Hi everyone. So in this video we are going to discuss provisions dealing with the anti-defection of Indian Constitution. What is this anti-defection? We'll be delving into introductory part of this video. We'll be discussing that what is this defection, what is the political defection, what is this anti-defection, what was the necessity to bring any such law. So provisions of the, as of now, the information is that provisions of anti-defection has been contained into 10th schedule of Indian Constitution. I hope you already would have an idea on all the 12 schedule that Indian Constitution does have. Although dedicatedly in none of the chapter, or I have not made any separate video on all the 12 schedule that Indian Constitution does have, or what those things, all those 12 schedule deals with. But at one point we already have delivered more than 70 lectures, and in those 70 lectures at one point or another, in one lecture or another, we already have discussed that what are those 12 schedule deals with. So, for example, when we were dealing with this tribal administration, we already have discussed what is this 5th schedule and 6th schedule. Then if you have not even completed Indian polity, still you would be knowing this, what is this 7th schedule. So, 7th schedule deals with the distribution of legislative power between union and state. This is one federal feature of Indian Constitution. What is this 9th schedule? What is this 10th schedule that is going? We will be discussing this 10th schedule dedicatedly, because you have this whole of the chapter dedicated to the 10th schedule. What is this 11th schedule? What is this 12th schedule? When we were discussing this Panchayati Raj institution and municipality, there we dedicatedly discussed that it was 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment, due to which you had this emergence of 11th and 12th schedule. Initially we had this until 8th schedule, we had only 8th schedule at the time of operationalization, or at the time of commencement of Indian Constitution, that was in 1950. We had only 8th schedule in Indian Constitution, but over a period of time 4 another schedule were added. 9th schedule was rather added in year 1951 itself, the very first year. Then you had this addition of 10th schedule, and many a people, this is an important point, many a people simply teach that 10th schedule was added in year 1985. Although that statement is factually correct, right, you can mark, but it is not the first time that 10th schedule was added. If you remember, when we were discussing this union and territory, that was chapter 5 of Indian Constitution, or chapter 5, not Indian Constitution, chapter 5 of Lakshmikant. So there as well we had talked about 10th schedule. When Sikkim was granted this associate status, associate state status, so there was no provision in Indian Constitution granting associate status, associate state status to any of the states. And at that point of time as well, you had this 10th schedule, and this 10th schedule at that point of time was dealing with this associate status to the Sikkim. When Sikkim was finally granted in the year 1975, if I could remember correctly, when Sikkim was finally granted this full statehood, then this 10th schedule was deleted. Finally, in year 1985, when this provisions of anti-defection was brought into Indian Constitution, you had again this emergence of 10th schedule, and since then this 10th schedule is dealing with the provisions of, or it contains the provisions dealing with the disqualification of member of parliament and member of legislative assembly and member of legislative council and the members of Rajya Sabha. So all the elected people or the nominated people as well, how nominated people will be disqualified. And it is not that only this 10th schedule talks about disqualification, there are other mechanism as well. If you remember, when we were discussing this parliament, so in parliament we had discussed, we will be discussing the what is the scope of this video, this is a spontaneous information and this is linkage, so listen this carefully. So when we were discussing this parliament, if you remember, we had talked about various kind of mechanism or various ways through which these elected people or elected member of parliament and member of legislative assembly can be. Just give me a moment, whether this laptop wire is connected. Yes. So we had discussed there in parliament that what are the various mechanism or various ways through which member of legislative assembly and member of parliament can be disqualified. So while talking about disqualification measure, we had talked about 3 ways. The first way was through the method of this election petition. Do you remember? So what is this election petition? So as soon a member has been elected, you have a fixed number of days in which his the winning candidate's winnership can be challenged. And what is the mechanism? So mechanism is the election petition. And since we we are into last chapter, into last leg of Indian polity. I expect that you would have watched all the videos, all the lectures sequentially, so you will not expect me to explain again that what is this election petition, because this election petition has already been covered twice or thrice when we were dealing with this parliament and when we were dealing with the state legislature and in the other videos as well. So since we are in advanced stage, I expect that the basic terminology of Indian polity I need not to explain. So the first way through which at the he has been elected or she has been elected as an MLA and MP, and his at the very starting, even he or she has, even an elected member has not joined the assembly or this parliament, even at that stage his winning on account of, if he has been during the election, if he has been indulged in any kind of electoral malpractices. Now again, what are the things, what are the activities that constitute electoral malpractices, I will not be explaining you. So if he or she has been indulged into what is called electoral malpractices, then you can challenge his candidature or his winnership that has been announced by the returning officer or the election. So that was the first mechanism. The second mechanism, again in the parliamentary chapter itself, we had discussed what was this article 102 and what was this article. This pen seems not to be working today. So what is this article 102 dealing with and what is this article 191 dealing with? And then the third thing was that representation of People's Act. So this is the second method through which once you have become the candidate or once you have become this member of parliament or member of legislative assembly, then there are certain ground that has been mentioned into this article 102, that is dealing with the disqualification ground for member of parliament, and then you have this article 191 that is dealing with the disqualification ground for member of legislative assembly and member of legislative council, both, right? And whenever I am saying member of parliament, I am referring, see, whenever in MLAs when you are describing, so you are referring only to the members of the lower house when we are discussing about MLA, right? So member of legislative assembly, but when we are talking about these MPs, then we are talking about both the members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. So this article 102 talks about disqualification, grounds of disqualification on which MPs, member of parliament, that is Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, can be disqualified. And similarly there are certain ground that has been besides that you have representation of People's Act 1951. So there are certain ground that has been added by this law called Representation of People's Act 1951, right? So on those grounds as well, member of parliament and member of legislative assembly and member of legislative council can also be terminated or disqualified. Then there was this third method that I specifically talked about, although that third method is there contained in this article 102 and 191 itself, but we talked separately that there are certain grounds that has been contained into 10th schedule, which we are going to talk about, right? So in 10th schedule as well, there are certain provisions, right? What kind of provision or what are the ways through which, what kind of activities that this member of parliament or member of legislative assembly that are going to fall under, through which these members candidature or these members membership will be disqualified. So that is the scope of this particular video, because what is this election petition through which members winning candidates winnership can be challenged. Then you have this article, although again I am emphasizing that this 10th schedule is part of this article 102 and article 191 itself. Let me show you, just a moment, give me a moment. So you have this article 102 and you have this article 191, right? Here it should have been mentioned article 191 as well. Article 1. So there are certain ground that has been mentioned in article 102 and article 191 by this 52nd constitutional amendment that we will be talking. What was this 52nd constitutional amendment? So 52nd constitutional amendment we will be talking it, right? Was brought by Rajiv Gandhi government in 1985, and this provision was added that besides these kind of grounds, there is one more ground, that is if Parliament in future brings up any law, then also on the basis of that law as well, members of Parliament and member of Legislative Assembly and member of Legislative Council can be, their candidature can be terminated or they can be disqualified. And this law was brought by this 52nd constitutional amendment in 1985, through which certain grounds has been mentioned that if members of Parliament and member of Legislative Assembly is going to do these kind of things, or if they are going to indulge into these kind of activities, then they will stand disqualified. Or speaker was equipped, or the presiding officer, to be very specific I should be calling about, that if according to this 10th schedule or according to 52nd constitutional amendment, the presiding officer was equipped that to decide that whether member has fallen into those kind of activities. We will be discussing, but my point was to let you know that what are the different kind of ground through which these member of Parliament and member of Legislative Assembly or member of Legislative Council's candidature can be disqualified. We already have discussed that in these kind of events, when election petition is filed, where the election petition, whether in High Court or Supreme Court, who will be decision making authority. We already had discussed that if a member has been subjected to the disqualification norm mentioned into Article 102 or Article 191 or Representation of People's Act 1950, then who is going to be deciding authority? When a member has fallen into any of the provision mentioned into 10th schedule, then it is the presiding officer, right? I did not discuss, I am not discussing these 2 points, but here, because this is the scope of this particular chapter. So here, if any member has fallen into any of the category or any of the ground that is mentioned into 10th schedule of Indian Constitution, then the presiding officer of that particular, here I am emphasizing, why I am emphasizing that presiding officer is going to make the decision, because many of the in many of the books it is only speaker that has been mentioned. So speaker will be taking decision only in case of Lok Sabha or Legislative Assembly. If any of the member of Rajya Sabha or Legislative Council of the state, their member has fallen into some grounds or some activities mentioned into 10th schedule, then the decision will not be taken by the speaker, then that the decision will be taken by the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha or chairperson of this Legislative Council. And that is why, to be more specific or to be more precise, I was using the word that the presiding officer and not the speaker. Speaker will take decision on the termination or the disqualification only in case of Lok Sabha members and the Legislative Assembly members, not in case of Rajya Sabha or not in case of Legislative Council. There the decision in the upper houses, the decision will be taken by the chairperson. So I hope you already have clarity between the three different mechanisms through which member of Parliament and member of Legislative Assembly candidature can be disqualified or can be challenged, right? So now we are discussing into, right, now we are delving into the scope of this particular chapter. Although generally we have this tendency of discussing the scope of particular video into the second slide itself, but few things came spontaneously into my mind and I thought of discussing those spontaneous information first rather than discussing the scope of this particular video. So let us first discuss that what is going to be scope of this particular video. So first of all, we will be discussing the 10th schedule of Indian Constitution, that what is this 10th schedule of Indian Constitution and why this 10th schedule was added into Indian Constitution by 52nd constitutional amendment in year 1985. Then why this political defection is problematic. I hope you already would have an idea on what is this defection, but here in this chapter, because we are dealing with the 10th schedule of Indian Constitution, which talks not about general defection. Defection is ultimately, defection is what? Moving from one organization to another organization, and defection although means moving is a positive, moving, the word moving has a positive connotation, but defection, the word defection has a negative connotation, means you are moving something in a unethical way. So in this particular video we will not be talking about the defection per se, but we will be talking about the political defection, but because political defection has been talked in this 10th schedule of Indian Constitution and it is not political. Here you will have to create this differentiation that the political defection that has been talked into 10th schedule of Indian Constitution, it is not limiting the defection or it is not going to regulate the defection of a general party member. Suppose you belong or you are office bearer of the Congress party. Now if you want to, if you are making a choice to move from Congress to the BJP or any other party. So that kind of defection it is not good. It is going to deal with this 10th schedule is going to regulate, or 10th schedule is going to punish. So punishment has been talked about in this 10th schedule of Indian Constitution. So 10th schedule is going to regulate or award punishment or decide punishment to those elected members who has been elected on a party ticket of a party, and then they are deciding while being elected, after being elected they are deciding to jump ship to another party. So that kind of defection that we will be talking about in this particular video. Then we will be talking about that what is this 52nd constitutional amendment, in what political circumstances in year 1985 this constitutional amendment was brought into Indian Constitution, what changes it brought to Indian Constitution. It amended 4 articles of Indian Constitution. So again here you will have to careful, because this thing again is coming spontaneously and this has not been added into this slide, or you will not find this information as well into Lakshmikant as well. So what changes, listen carefully, what changes this anti-defection or 52nd constitutional amendment brought to the Indian Constitution? So first of all, it added 10th schedule again. I am saying again because 10th schedule was already added to deal with this associate status. If you remember in year 90, again that information has already been provided. So first change that was brought by 52nd constitutional amendment, that it added this 10th schedule to the Indian Constitution. What again amendment A stands for amendment. So it amended 4 articles of Indian Constitution as well. So what all article that was amended? So you have this article 101 that was amended, you have this article 102 that was amended, then you have this article 190 and 191 that was amended. This article 102 and article 191 you already know, and these are the preceding article of these 2 articles. So these 4 articles were amended by 52nd constitutional amendment. Why this article, these 2 articles, and in these 2 articles were amended to insert the provision of the disqualification. Then we will be discussing, then you had this 91st constitutional amendment in year 2003. What was this, what information or what changes this 91st constitution? So there was some reform that was necessary. You had already the provision or the anti-defection law has already been brought up by 52nd constitutional amendment, but then the need was felt. This reform was brought, or this 91st constitutional amendment was brought into year 1985. This this constitutional amendment had been brought into this year 1985. So in this intervening period of 1985 and 2003, there was abuse of the provisions of the 52nd constitutional amendment, that is 10th schedule. Provisions of the 10th schedule was abused from the year 1985 to until 2003, and finally in 2003 it was felt that perhaps those provisions of the 52nd constitutional amendment needs to be rectified, needs to be corrected, so that the misuse or the abuse of the anti-defection law could be protected or could be stopped. So in year 2003 you had this 91st constitutional amendment that we will be talking about, and then we will be talking about whether courts does have power to intervene when the speaker or when the chairperson of that particular house will be taking decision whether our member has fallen under the disqualification norm mentioned into 10th schedule of Indian Constitution. So once speaker and the presiding officer has delivered the judgment, thereafter whether the courts will have to power to review the decision of the speaker and the or the chairperson or not. So judicial review, because that is the basic feature of Indian Constitution, right, and the basic feature that was evolved in year 1973 by this Keswanand Bharti case and affirmed by this LIC of India on the basic feature of Indian Constitution. You already had one statement into the preceding year, that is 2020 prelims, right. So that is the thing. So we will be discussing whether courts does have, Supreme Court does have power to review the decision that has been delivered by the presiding officer. So that we will be discussing, and the powers of the speaker, or to be more precise, we will be discussing that to what extent this, or to what are the problems and what are the extent of power of the speaker or the presiding officer, and then at the end of this video there are 4 MCQ that has been appended for you to attempt. So this is how we are going to proceed. So now first of all let us understand what is this 10th schedule and in what political circumstances this 10th schedule had been added to the Indian Constitution. So what is this 10th schedule? You already know because we already have discussed it in length. So 10th schedule is nothing. 10th schedule contains certain grounds on which member of parliament and member of legislative assembly and member of legislative council can be disqualified. Why they will be disqualified? Because they are jumping the ship. What is this jumping of the ship? To understand this jumping of the ship, 10th schedule contains provisions for the disqualification of members. When I am talking about the members here, it is not talking about only members of the legislative assembly, members of the legislative assembly, but it is also talking about member of legislative council and member of parliament, that is members of Lok Sabha and member of Rajya Sabha. And it is not only talking about the elected members, it will be also dealing with the nominated members as well, and it will be also dealing with the independent members as well, the one which does not belong to any of the party. So 10th schedule contains provision for the disqualification of the members, and why these members will be disqualified? If they are defecting. Defection means what? Defection means movement of the elected members from one party to another. They were elected on the ticket of one party, and then after elected they are attempting to shift their allegiance, their political loyalty to another party. So if any of the member, whether be elected or be nominated, although nominated members, we will be discussing nominated members, although they are not elected on any of the party ticket, but there are certain regulation that has been put on the nominated members as well, that if they are shifting their political allegiance after so or so many months of the nomination, then the provisions of the 10th schedule will be applicable on that as well. So as of now the information is that the provisions of 10th schedule is applicable not only on the elected member who has been elected on any of the party ticket, but also on the nominated members and also on the independent members. So all these class of people or all these class of member of parliament or member of legislative assembly or member of legislative council will be subjected to this anti-defection law that has been contained into 10th schedule of Indian Constitution. So I hope you already would have an idea that what is this 10th schedule. I am repeating, the 10th schedule deals with certain grounds. What are those grounds? So on account of defection, if you are defecting from one party to another, then your membership can be disqualified or your membership will be terminated, and that has been written in form of anti-defection law into 10th schedule of Indian Constitution. So I hope what is this 10th schedule of Indian Constitution, you already would have an idea. Now the next question is that why 10th schedule was added into Indian Constitution. Now to understand why this 10th schedule of Indian Constitution was added, then you will have to understand, or you will have to go back to last 1 year, the political drama that has happened into Indian political landscape in last 1 year. So recently, the most recent case you have of Rajasthan. So here Rajasthan, one faction of the Congress party or the ruling party in Rajasthan right now is INC, Indian National Congress. So one faction led by Sachin Pilot had attempted to defect, although he tried to describe that it is not a defection, it is just a dissent, but then we need not to enter into the politics of this matter, we just have to look the merit. So here the thing is that one faction of the same party tried to defect to another party, or at least they were attempted to defect, or at least they were threatening. So in this threat, when they were threatening their own party to a certain kind of line or to whatever reform that they wanted, internal reform or external reform, whatever good intention, the problem that was there, that this political drama unfolded for around 2 months, and when this political drama was unfolding for 2 months, you have one faction that was staying into any of the restaurant or any of the hotel into the Gurgaon, you had another faction led by the chief minister of that state that was staying into another politics. All the MLAs were absent from their constituencies, all the MLAs were not attending, or at least inefficiently attending these cabinet meetings, perhaps because they were not regular. So, at the end of the day, what was the casualty in all these during all these 2 months or what 1.5 months? The casualty was public service delivery, PSD, public service delivery. The casualty was the governance. Similar thing you had happen into Madhya Pradesh as well. See, it is not only from the governance point of view that it is incorrect. Yes, means governance was also impacted. The public service delivery was also impacted, but it is unethical as well for these MLAs who has been elected on any party ticket, right? How it is unethical we will be discussing, but right now I am letting you know that why this 10th schedule was added to the Indian constitution. So, this MLA jumping from one ship or one party to another party is nothing new. It has been happening since post independence. If you go back to 1967, in 96, so you will have to understand that evolution of this 10th schedule as well, or evolution of this anti-defection law as well. So, to understand this evolution of anti-defection, you will have to delve into the history. This was year 1967, and this year 1967 again is very important, a landmark year into Indian political landscape. Until 1967, at the central level, at the state level, at the both level, you had hegemony of the one particular party, that was Congress. In 1967, Congress not lost the majority, but at the central level you had fall. Then although Congress was ruling, but the number of seats in year 1967 that they got, right, that was very less as compared to the earlier election. Similarly, in the year 1967, they lost the control of 7 states, and this loss of control was not in a democratic or election manner. This loss of control into the 7 state was because the Congress legislature or the legislature which has contested election onto the Congress ticket, they chose to defect to some another party, and the kind of regulation that we do have in 2020 in place, that if you have been elected on a party ticket, there are some punishment or there is some kind of cost that you will have to pay if you choose to defect to another. So, that kind of regulation was absent in this year 1967, and because of that kind of defection, you will notice that in year 1967, Congress is going to lose control in 7 states. Those 7 states will be ruled by another party, and since then there was an attempt by the ruling party, or there was attempt by the parliament to regulate these kind of defection. And as I already told you, that it is not only the governance during whatever period, because why these MLAs are defecting, it is due to some principal reason, is it due to the moralistic reason? No, not all the time. Yes, morals can be reason. If the party in power or the ruling party, if it is not doing or if it is not serving the public interest, then okay, there may be certain percentage of MLA, or there is maybe certain percentage of MP that may be motivated by the principal reason, and they can say that just because my party is not doing the public service line or the public interest line, let me defect to another party and let the other party form the government. Perhaps they would be in position, or they would be running a principled government. So, moral can be also reason, but nowadays the kind of political circumstances that we do have today, these MLAs and MPs are motivated more by inducement that is being offered by another party, rather than being driven by these morals and the principle. That kind of reasoning we already. So, on the ethical governance, when these MLAs or MPs are choosing to defect to another party, then the first thing is that it is unethical, and the second thing is that it is bringing instability into the government. It is impacting during that unstable period, be it 1 month, be it 15 days, be it 2 months, right. During that period, the governance will be impacted, and that is why the 10th schedule was added into year 1985, although attempt had been made into year 1967 as well. We will be discussing that, right. This pen is not, although the attempt of bringing any such regulation or 10th schedule had been, or anti-defection law, to stop this transfer or to stop this horn hobbing or to stop this jumping of ship by the MLAs or by the MP, had been brought up in year 1967 as well. Let me tell you. So, the attempt had been made in the year 1967 itself. You had this Y.V. Chavan panel that had been constituted by the Congress party, and it had given its recommendation. So the first attempt had been made in this year 1973, but that attempt of bringing any such anti-defection law or adding 10th schedule into Indian constitution failed. Then a second attempt had been made in year 1978 by the Janata government, the then Janata government that was in power, but that attempt also failed. Finally, you had this year 1985 when the third attempt was made by the Rajiv Gandhi government, and then that attempt was successful, and finally the provisions dealing with provisions to regulate this defection was inserted into Indian constitution in form of 10th schedule, and by amending 4 articles of Indian constitution, that is article 101, 102, article 190 and article 191, that was amended to have this 10th schedule in Indian constitution, or to mention the ground on which members of parliament and member of legislative assembly can be disqualified. So I hope you will have clarity on what is this 10th schedule of Indian constitution and why 10th schedule was added to the Indian constitution. So why this was added? To bring stability into the governance, so that the governance is not impacted, so that the legislature can focus more on the governance rather than the defection motivated by the inducement. So I hope you will have clarity on now what kind of political defection that we are going to talk about into the 10th schedule. 10th schedule talks about what kind of defection, whether it talks about this kind of defection or whether this 10th schedule will be dealing with this kind of defection. Let us discuss this, what is this kind and what is that kind. So here, when you have this person, he was earlier with the Congress and now he has shifted his allegiance or political loyalty to another party, that is ruling party right now, into the center. So see, 10th schedule is not going to deal with this kind of defection. Political defection it will not be dealing with. It will be dealing with the kind of, see, at the time when this person defected, he was neither, listen this carefully, at the time he defected to another party, from his parent party to another, he was neither MP, he was neither member of legislative assembly. So he was not a elector or nominated, he was not part of any house. So that kind of defection is allowed, right? My life, my choice. You will have to give that kind of freedom. Constitution, any constitution of modern day cannot, if you do not like the stance that is being undertaken on various kind of public policy or the policies that is being pursued that is not in public interest, you are always free to jump the ship. So that kind of political defection has not barred by or is not being punished by the provisions of the 10th schedule. But if there is any this kind of defection that has already not taken place, but we are taking a hypothetical, if this scholarly man who happens to be elected person, right, he is member of parliament from Thiruvananthapuram, if I am not wrong. So he is elected member of parliament from Thiruvananthapuram, and if he chooses to, so this person happens to be late Arun Jaitley, and if this person chooses to shift his allegiance or political loyalty while being elected to another party, then this kind of provision, here this person cannot say my life, my choice. So why he cannot say, why he is allowed to say my life, my choice, but that kind of freedom has not been given. So see, in Indian political system, which is little complex, in Indian political system, when a person is being elected either into the Lok Sabha or Legislative Assembly or Legislative Council or Rajya Sabha, then he is not elected only because of his own persona. He is not being elected only because of his own cult. He is not only, he or she is not being elected only because of own personality. While he is winning or he or she is winning, there are 3 important things that get into role or that plays role, and that is party ideology, the leadership and the party manifesto. So if a voter is rightist, if he believes in nationalism, if he believes in revival of the ancient culture, then that kind of voter will be attaching their or his allegiance to the party ideology. So a person who is standing into the election or who is contesting election, he or she is not getting vote because of, yes, persona of that person or that candidate contesting the election is a factor, but it is not the only factor. The other factor is the party ideology that a voter subscribe does not matter. There will always be a kind of core voter that every political party today has, right, be it BSP. So for BSP, which kind of, which category or which class of, we do have, unfortunately we have various kind of casteist political party, we do have some kind of religious political party, which seeks unofficially, although officially it is completely, it is electoral, it comes under category appealing any kind of voter to vote them on the grounds of caste or on grounds of religion, that comes under the category of electoral malpractices. But unfortunately unofficial categorization of these kind of party does exist. So which kind of party will vote, or which kind of BSP, does not matter what kind of job or what kind of performance that BSP or any other party or BJP or the Congress, right, delivered, whether they deliver any kind of public service or not, there will always be a core voter that will remain attached, because he believes in the party ideology of that particular, or ideology of that particular. So here the role of the candidate, or who is candidate, is not playing a major role, rather the party which has given him or her ticket to contest, that also plays a role. Then the leadership, who is leading that particular party. So if you have charismatic leader, at the time of independence you had this charismatic leader Nehru, then you had Madam Gandhi, then you had this currently you have this Narendra Modi, the our Prime Minister currently, and there have been at times in different phases you had. So when you have this charismatic leader in the place, then you will notice again certain class of voter is ready to forget the candidate's profile, right, who is going to contest or who will be their next MP or who will be their next MLA. They will be looking only into the leader, charismatic leadership style, and based on that leadership style they will be voting. So here again the candidate's individual profile is often ignored, and it is the leadership at the top that is taken care of. The third thing that plays into role into the election of any member is the party manifesto. So when you have these kind of things getting into or deciding the election of that kind of person, then this person is not independent, or this person cannot be given independence to decide that this or he or she should be leaving party in between, because he or she has got vote not only because of his own persona or his own personality or his own cult or appeal, but he has got vote also because of the party which has awarded him or her ticket. So in that kind of situation, he cannot, he or she, that elected member or the nominated member or the independent candidate, what happens in, why independent candidate can also not be given that kind of independence. So when independent candidate contests the election, he has clearly delivered that, hey, I do not believe into ideology of the all the existing or the traditional party. I am contesting as an independent, and when he or she also try to join any other political party after being elected, then the provisions of political provisions of 10th schedule will be applicable to him or her as well. So that is the political defection. This kind of political defection that will be barred or that will be punished here according to the provisions of the 10th schedule. 10th schedule does allow, it does not punishes this kind of political defection, right. So I hope you will now idea on what kind of political defection that will be punished by the provisions of the 10th schedule, and what kind of political defection that will be concession or that will be given concession by the provisions of the 10th schedule. So this you already, what is this political defection, how the 10th schedule, what has been the evolution of the 10th schedule. To debar or to punish these kind of political defection, you will notice that we had this 52nd constitutional amendment year 1985 by the Rajiv Gandhi government. As already told you that the attempt of bringing such anti-defection law had already been made or started or being attempted to be made from 1967 itself. There were 2 failed attempts, and finally you have this 52nd constitutional amendment. What kind of constitutional changes this 52nd constitutional amendment is going to bring? So 52nd constitutional amendment, this point as already we have discussed, that this 52nd constitutional amendment, first of all it will be adding or re-adding 10th schedule of Indian constitution, and then you have these 4 articles, article 101, article 102, article 190 and article 191. These 4 articles will be amended, not added. These articles already existed. These 2 articles we already know, article 102, article 191, what it deals with, and then you have these 2 preceding articles, that is article 101 preceding article 102 and article 190 preceding article 191. So these 4 articles were amended and 10th schedule was added. So, this is the change that in constitutional structure this 52nd constitutional amendment is going to bring, and this 52nd constitutional amendment will be telling us or will be making provision that which class of people, whether MPs, whether MLAs, whether MLC, which all class or whether independent members, who all are the people who, if they chooses to defect after being elected or after being, listen these points carefully, after being elected or after nominated, who all class of people that if they choose to defect from one party to another, if they try to jump from one party to another, so what punishment, who are going to be, who, which body is going to decide that what nature of punishment or what punishment they will be meted out. So, all these things in 52nd constitutional amendment we will be discussing, and then we will be discussing there were one particular provision of this 52nd constitutional amendment that will be abused, and that remedy or that abuse of 52nd constitutional amendment will be corrected by the 91st constitutional amendment that will be brought into, or that will be discussed in next slide, and that will be brought, this 91st constitutional amendment will be brought by Atal Bihari led government, later Sri Atal Bihari led government in 2003. So, first of all let us discuss 52nd constitutional amendment, and then we will be shifting to 91st constitutional amendment. So, 52nd constitutional amendment, it provided for the disqualification of member of parliament and member of state legislature. When it is saying member of parliament, then it is talking about member of Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, and when it is saying member of state legislature assembly, then it is talking about member of legislative assembly and member of legislative council. So, all these class of people will be subjected to the provisions of the 10th schedule or provisions of 52nd constitutional amendment. So, who are all the class of people who will be subjected or who will be punished or who are debarred from or who will be subjected to the provisions of the 10th schedule? So, you have these if any person or if any elected member you have, he belongs to party X, on the party X ticket he contested the election, now he or she is MLA or MP. Now, after being elected, if he or she, see before being elected he is a free man, he is a free lady, he can choose to defect to any other party, there is no bar on that, that kind of freedom of choice, that kind of freedom has been given, that is allowed, right, you cannot stop. But when you have been elected by taking or by accepting candidature of one particular party, after being elected from the party X, if you are, yes, you are a public representative, that is understood. Now, you have become member of parliament or member of legislative assembly, that is understood, but because you had this association, and we already have discussed that this person who has become now MLA or MP, he has not won only because of his own persona. There is party's contribution as well, there is party's core vote bank as well, there is effect of that charismatic leadership as well, you had this party manifesto as well. So, because that person has won on account of all these factors, and that is why if he is jumping the ship to party Y, then he or she will be subjected to the provisions, he or she will be eligible or he or she will be disqualified. Although there will be, whether there will be automatic disqualification as soon he has jumped the ship, whether he will be automatically disqualified, that we will be discussing. Let me tell you rather right now, he or she will not be automatically disqualified. As soon he has chosen to subscribe to the ideology or who joined the another party, it is not the immediate disqualification or it is not the suo motu disqualification. The party whip, in parliament, every political party has a party whip leader who assigns this whip, who issues the whip on the behest of this head of the party at the top of the party. So, that party whip leader will have to request the presiding officer of that particular house, and then the speaker or the chairperson, whatever the case may, he or she will initiate the procedure of the disqualification. What kind of time, because what amount of time that speaker or presiding officer will be taking while taking the decision, that has not been taken into, or that has not been mentioned into the constitution, and that is going to be a problem, right? In many cases, speakers or presiding officer has taken completion of the term. So, suppose 2 years down the line, the term of MPs and MLA is 5 years, 2 years down the line they have chosen, after serving or after having association with this particular party, 2 years after they chose to defect to another party, party Y. Now 3 years term is pending. At many a times it has been seen that these speakers or the presiding officers, just because they had in past some kind of political association with a different party, right. So, they will be taking decision based on their own political, although from the speaker, the positions of the speaker or from the position of this chairperson, it is expected that they will set aside their personal association or personal loyalty to the party they earlier belonged to, or even means it is not the practice into Indian constitution. The while of assuming the office of speaker or the presiding officer, you need to, if I am joining the position of the speaker, although ethically I should be resigning from my parent party, once I have performed the role of the speaker after 5 years or 3 years, I can again join, but ethically, although in constitution it has not been mentioned that you have to, if you are assuming the position of the speaker or the chairperson, you have to resign. In constitution there is no mention, but this is the practice that is being followed in Britain. Rather in Britain, this right now I am not delving into in these kind, that what is the practice that is adopted into. You have already, we have discussed this when we were discussing this position of the speaker, that to maintain political neutrality, what aspect that has been mentioned or that is in practice in Britain, that we are not. So, a speaker has often been seen that they hop with the ruling party because they belong to the ruling party. So, they give that kind of judgment which favors the political. So, if disqualifying immediately that member favors the political party, then speaker or the presiding officer will be disqualifying that members immediately. If the disqualification is not necessary, or if the immediate disqualification of the member is not going to help the ruling party, then he or she, that particular member who has been subjected to the disqualification, he or she will not be disqualified. He will be allowed to continue his whole, complete his whole of. And what is the loophole? The loophole, only loophole is the speaker who is supposed to take decision or who has been given the power to take the decision, right. It is not mentioned that in how much time, whether he or she should be completing this or taking this decision within 2 months, 3 months or year. So, that kind of practice you will notice, and that is one loophole, although that is something that was supposed to be discussed into next slide, but just because it came. So, here means party MLAs and MPs will be subjected to the provisions if they choose to defect from one party after being elected. If they choose, what kind of other members will be subjected to the provisions of anti-defection? So, if nominated member of parliament or nominated member of legislative council, why I have not mentioned MLAs? Because by 104th constitutional amendment, the two nomination that we used to have, means there was provision that if Anglo-Indian from the Anglo-Indian community, if they are underrepresented, then president did have power that in Lok Sabha he or she could nominate 2 members from the Anglo-Indian community. So, that has been done away with from the Lok Sabha, and similarly in the legislative assembly you had this power belonging to the governor, that governor, if in his opinion, if he feels that Anglo-Indian community is not widely represented or adequately represented, then in legislative assembly he could nominate. So, now those power, now that nomination or that reservation is not available to the Anglo-Indian community, that kind of, and that is why I have not mentioned this MLAs, right, nominated. So, you now what you do have in Rajya Sabha, you have these 12 provision of 12 nominated MPs, member of parliament, and in legislative council similarly you have this nominated member of legislative council. So, if nominated member of legislative council and nominated member of Rajya Sabha chooses to defect or chooses to join, see when Rajya Sabha, what kind of ground that has been mentioned, what kind of people that will be nominated to the Rajya Sabha. So, they need not to belong to any political party, rather they should have background of science, they should have background of some academia, they should have belong to some kind of social services. So, that kind of, so they needed, although generally practices that party members are only nominated, right, but there is option that people belonging to the social services, people belonging to who have contributed to the society, they can be. So, they generally do not belong to any of the party, but they have been given option that if they join any, after being nominated, if they chooses to join any of the party, party X, party Y, party Z, party A, party, whatever political party that you do have, if they chooses to join any of the political party within the 6 months, now listen it carefully as well, within the 6 months, if they chooses to join any of the political party, then they will not, I am again emphasizing that within 6 months of being nominated either into Rajya Sabha or Legislative Council, if they are choosing to join any of the political party, then they will not be subjected to provisions of the anti-defection, means they will not be disqualified from the membership. But if they chooses to join political party after 6 months of the nomination, you are nominated into the Rajya Sabha, after 6 months if you are trying to join any political party, BJP, Congress, Sapa, Baspa, any kind of political party, then the provisions of the 10th schedule will apply to you, because after 6 months of the joining, that nominated candidate is considered as an independent candidate. So, after 6 months it is not allowed. After 6 months, if you are joining any political party after being nominated, then you will be given similar treatment. That is, it will be incumbent on speaker or presiding officer whether they choose to disqualify you or not. What is another category of people who will be disqualified? So, another category of people is those people who has been elected, they did not contest from any of the party ticket, they contested election as independent candidate, they became member of parliament and member of legislative council or member of legislative assembly. Now, after being elected, if they are trying to join any kind of political party, then in that case as well, he will be subjected to the provisions of anti-defection. If any person challenges his candidature to the speaker or to the chairperson, then he can be disqualified. Rather, principally, he not can be, he will be surely disqualified. But as I already told you, the political association or speaker or the political association, the previous political association or political loyalty of what you call the presiding officer has often allowed that these kind of decision either is taken immediately if it favors political party, and will not be taken, rather means speaker and the presiding officer will be sitting on these kind of requests. See, first of all, let me clarify that whenever any kind of member has been subjected to the provisions of anti-defection, right, then in that case the speaker or the presiding officer will not be taking suo motu decision, right. Only on the complaint being made, means they will not be, if party X or party Y has defected, any member has defected, then if the party whip is making on complaint being made, then only speaker or presiding officer will start or initiate his own procedure. So, these are the people that you will notice that if any of the elected member or the nominated or independent candidate is taking any kind of these kind of decision, if they are choosing to join any another political party or any party, in that case they will be subjected to the provisions of, or they will stand eligible for the, listen this carefully, they will stand on the grounds of the disqualification. They will not be disqualified automatic, there is no provision of automatic disqualification. Speaker or the chairperson, or more specifically the presiding officer of that particular house is going to make a decision, right. So, no automatic disqualification. What are the other instances in which these members, member of parliament or member of legislative or member of legislative councils candidature can be challenged? Besides joining another party or other party. So, the other situation is these three situations, if they are doing cross voting in the house despite party's whip. So, what is this cross voting? So, your party has issued the whip or issues a directive, right. You already would be knowing what is this whip, right. We already have covered this in parliament. So, if your party has issued a directive that hey, on this particular bill or on this kind of resolution that is to be or that is supposed to be taken tomorrow into the parliament or legislative, this is the stand of our party. We should be voting on this resolution, we should be voting on this kind of bill in this particular, either will be favoring the government or either will be opposing the government. So, when party has clarified, the whip leader has clarified the stand to each and every member, and in that case if any of the party member is not following that directive on that particular day, if he is choosing or if party has issued the directive that hey on that particular day during that bill discussion you need to be present, right, all the members is supposed to be present, we will have a healthy discussion. Now on that particular day if the party member is choosing to do he will remain absent due to any reason, due to any kind of inducement that may be offered by ruling political party or any reason, if he or she chooses either to cross vote or if he remains absent without the party whip permission, in that case party whip may approach again. The decision will not be taken suo motu by the presiding officer of that house. Even in these kind of incidences, party whip will have to approach the presiding officer of that house that hey, we had means our party member has violated so and so whip, so now he stands. See, the thing is, the first of all what thing that this party whip can do or the party leadership can do, party leadership can take away or the primary membership from the political party, his primary membership party may suspend. So again this point, it is not that as soon a particular member of parliament or member of legislative assembly has been stripped off from his primary membership from the party, it is not that he will be automatically again suspended. No, even after the political party has suspended or has taken away the primary membership of their political party. So yes, if you are taking away this primary membership, so if he belong to the Congress, he will not be a Congress member, political party member, but he will still sit, he can still sit in the house, he can attend the meetings, he can vote until and unless on a complaint being made to the presiding officer and presiding officer has delivered the judgment. So long as presiding officer's judgment is pending, so long that member of parliament or member of legislature or MLC can continue to sit in that particular house. The third instance is that it's made this 52nd constitutional amendment made the members of political party, elected members and nominated members responsible for the conduct outside the house as well. So even outside, it is not that only what contrary things that you are doing that can be constituted as anti-party activities, even outside the house as well, if you are delivering any kind of speech that may be constituted as anti-party, or if you are doing any kind of thing that may be constituted as anti-party, so in that kind of incident, and this provision was added by the 52nd constitutional amendment. Although in Kihito Holland case in 90, and this Kihito Holland case, let me tell you, Kihito Holland case you will have to remember, because this Kihito Holland case has primary emphasis on this anti-defection, provisions of anti-defection itself. So although Kihito Holland case, it will be said in this regard that hey, the conduct of the provisions of anti-defection will be applicable to these member of parliament and member of legislative assembly only while they are in house. If they are voting contrary to the party's opinion, if they are not if they are abstaining from the house, again contrary to the party opinion, if they are choosing to join another party, then in that case, if they have resigned from your party, in that case as well you are eligible, means party is eligible to bring it to notice to the presiding officer, and presiding officer will disqualify that member. But in 52nd constitutional amendment, this provision that says that it is not only inside the house but outside the house as well, in terms of whatever speech that they are delivering, whatever party meetings whether they are attending, if they have been suggested that hey, you need to attend this party meeting on so and so date, now he is hobbying with another political party and he is not attending, or she is not attending, in that case 52nd constitutional amendment mandated that outside the party, outside the legislature, means outside the house as well, whatever conduct that is reflected by these MPs and MLA, on that can also be the basis of request to be made to the presiding officer that hey, he is indulging into any kind of parties, anti-party activities, and now suspend, disqualify that member. So in Kihito Holland case it will be said, so this provision by 52nd constitutional amendment, but in Kihito Holland case it will be said that no, in if any member will be subjected to the 10th schedule, provisions of 10th schedule only in the situation if they are doing something contrary only inside the house. Outside the house, outside the legislature, whatever activities they are in, we are not we will not be taken, or speaker or the presiding officer will not be taking that thing into account. So these were the provisions of the 52nd constitutional amendment that you will notice. So on these accounts, these are the class of people, right? Nominated members, independent members, or the members belong to the another party if they are trying to jump ship to another party, or the nominated member after 6 months if he or she is trying to join another party after 6 months, or independent members is trying to join any of the political party, or if these people are indulging into any these kind of activities, then their candidature will be disqualified on a complaint, not suo motu, on a complaint being made by the party whip to the presiding officer of that particular house. So I hope the provisions of 52nd constitutional amendment, that is 10th schedule, that has been contained into 10th schedule, you will have clarity on. Now we are moving into, see, this is the process, this is how they are suspended. This point we already, that there will be no automatic disqualification, rather on a complaint being made, right, presiding officer of that particular house will be deciding whether a member has been or he stands on the provisions mentioned into the schedule 10 or not, right. So that was the process, that is the process. Party whip will approach presiding officer and then presiding officer will initiate the procedure. Now there are certain concession that has been, even if any member indulges into these kind of activities, what kind of activities? These kind of activities that we discussed into the previous slide. So there are certain concession that has been granted to these members on certain grounds, and if they are falling onto certain those grounds, then those people or those members will not be subjected to the provisions of anti, means their party cannot request the disqualification. What are those grounds? So if there is any member of parliament who is being chosen as speaker, listen me carefully, if there is any, see, speakers are generally from a ruling party, generally, means although it is incumbent on the ruling party that they can choose any of the member belonging to the opposition party as well. Somnath Chatterjee, who belonged to the left, he did not belong during UPA 1, right, he did, on UPA 2 as well, he did not belong to the what you call Congress directly, but their left ally, so they had chosen to make Somnath Chatterjee, late Somnath Chatterjee, to make. So generally these people does have, my point is, generally these people, people who are being, or the member who are being elected as speaker, they have certain kind of political association. So concession that has been given to a member who is chosen as speaker, that he or she may choose to resign from his or her political party. Now what was the provision here? That if according to the 52nd constitutional amendment, if any person, if I have been elected from the Congress ticket, or if I have been elected to the house as a on the BJP ticket, and if I voluntarily resigns from my party, then in that case 10th schedule provision will be applicable against me and I can be disqualified. So in this case, if the member who has been elected or who has been chosen as speaker, if he or she chooses to resign from his parent political party, then his membership will not go, he will not stand for the disqualification. So this is one concession that has been given into the 52nd constitutional amendment. What is the next what is this next concession that has been granted? So the next concession is that not one member but 1/3, suppose a party does have suppose 10 members. Now if 10 members of 1/3 of this 10 member chooses to defect to another political party, 1/3 or more than 1/3 of this party which does have 10 political, or let us say the 20 MLAs one party does have, suppose in UP, we are taking a hypothetical example. Now 1/3 of 20 will translate into some 7. So if 7 MLAs of this party decides to join the ruling party, that is BJP right now, then those members, those 7 members, the rest 13 members in this party cannot complain, or the party whip of this smaller party cannot complain that, hey, 7 of these people, MLAs, have decided to join this political party, another political party or the ruling party, and they had contested on our ticket. So hey speaker, or hey chairperson, Can you suspend these members? No, that will not be possible, because one concession has been granted that if a significant number, and that significant number is 1/3 of the members. So, 1/3 of the political party member or more than 1/3 has decided to join another or has decided to defect to another. So, why this provision was added? This provision was added respecting the freedom of choice. So, if see in what situation 1/3, ideally what was expected that if 1/3 or a significant number of people are defecting, then there is some problem with the party ideology, or there is some problem with the party's policy. If the party leadership is not following the public services or the public interest, in that case, and if 1/3 people are agreeing, right, then their choice should be respected, not one person or two person, but if 1/3 of that party MLAs or MPs are choosing to defect to, so their choice should be respected, and that was the logic. So, that was one concession that was granted, that if 1/3 means one member is defecting, then he will be subjected, but if 1/3 or more members are choosing to defect to another party, then the provisions of 10th schedule will not be applicable against those 1/3 member. The second concession or the third concession, first concession, second concession, third concession that was granted is that if a party decides to merge with, there are many kind of political mergers that does happen on the political landscape. So, if a smaller party or if any of the bigger party as well has decided, their leadership has decided to merge their party with the another party, then in that case, and there is condition that 2/3, see, might be that leadership may have decided to defect, not defect, sorry, to merge their political party with the another political party, but if 2/3, that kind of merger should have approval of 2/3 of the members, elected members of that particular party. Only then that decision can be affected, right? Even if leadership likes to merge their political party with another party, but if 2/3 members are not supporting that decision, the merger cannot take place. And if still party leadership goes ahead and decides to merge, in that case those, and if the number, they have not taken consent from the 2/3 of the member, and if these members complain that, hey, this party leadership, we are actually original party and this party's leadership has not taken the consent from us, and their number who has defected or who has decided to merge is not 2/3, if they are able to prove, so this smaller group can complain to the speaker or can complain to the presiding officer, and they will be, rather, that's a larger group which does not, although that is a larger group, but that does not constitute 2/3 of the members, right. So, here the smaller group can complain, right, that decision is not legitimate, and the larger group can be disqualified. So, these three concessions has been granted. Now another concession that was granted by 52nd constitutional, and see this second concession that was granted, you will notice that this concession, now 52nd constitutional amendment was brought into year 1985, and this concession will be abused most. How this concession will be abused most? So, you will notice that at state level, not at the national level, although this can be impacted at the national level as well to the member of parliament as well, but at the state level this provision will be abused most. So, the smaller party, suppose a smaller party, state party does have 6 members or 10 members, in that case the ruling party will be inducing to end this opposition into the house, or the opposition's presence into the house, this smaller party will be induced, or their members will be induced for any kind of government post or any position into the cabinet, and they will be induced. So, if a particular party does have 6 members, so if only 2 members or more than 2 members could be agreed to realign or to align themselves with the interest of the ruling political party. So, these 2 members of these 6 total members, or 3 members or 4 members, will not be subjected, right. So, most of the time from 1985 to 2003, you will notice that this provision or this concession will be abused by many of the ruling party, and that is why finally this provision, this particular provision will be deleted by 91st constitutional amendment. So, that is the only thing that will be done, or that is the only amendment that will be in relation to this anti-defection, that this provision. Right now, if I talk about what is the position of anti-defection, So, this concession is not available to any of the political party. Only this concession is available, that if they have decided to merge with any kind of political party, any party has decided to merge with any kind of political party, and 2/3 of their member, again listen carefully, that if 2/3, only if 2/3 of their members, elected members, are supporting that decision of the merger, then only that merger can take place. So, right now this is the only concession, this concession and this concession we will be discussing. So, this concession that was part of 52nd constitutional amendment is right now has been deleted by 91st constitutional amendment, and this concession is not available. I hope I have make myself clear, right. Will not be discussing, after discussing this I will just be giving you a glance of 91st constitutional amendment, but will not be discussing now 91st constitutional amendment. So, the fourth concession that was granted to, just a moment. So, fourth constitutional amendment that was granted to the member of parliament or member of legislative assembly is this. What is this concession? So, in case, do you remember that we have discussed that in case any member of parliament or member of legislative assembly chooses to violate the guideline, or chooses to violate or chooses to ignore the guideline or directives of the political party or party whip, in that case again he will be subjected to what you call the provisions of schedule 10 of Indian constitution. But in case suppose party has made complaint, party whip has made a complaint to the speaker or to the presiding officer of that particular house, and now in between within 15 days if party chooses, even after being even after complaint being made, if the party chooses that within 15 days if party is ready to condone, if party is ready to pardon that decision, that ignorance of the advice of that particular member, if party chooses to pardon that decision of that member, particular member, then in that case suppose that member comes, walks to the party leadership and say, hey I made a huge mistake, please pardon that. So, in that case that decision, if the party chooses within 15 days to pardon that decision or the vote, the contrary vote that that member had indulged into or anti-party activity, then in that case concession can be granted, that member will not be disqualified. So, these are the concession, these were the provisions of 52nd constitutional amendment, that who are the class of people who will be subjected, what kind of activities that they will be indulging into, then they will be subjected to the provisions of schedule 10, right. What will be the procedure? So, procedure also we have discussed, right. And then what are the kind of concession, who are the people who has been granted concession, that we also have discussed. We already have discussed that from 1985 after operationalization of this law, there will be abuse of this provision of the that law, and finally by 91st constitutional amendment in 2003, this protection that was provided to the member in case of split of 1/3 member was deleted, and now protection is available only in case of merger of the political party and not in this particular case. So, 91st constitutional amendment is also clear. Now, see when it comes to that, what will be the process of complaint being made? Suppose a party whip has to make a complaint. So, what will be the methodology of, what will be the prescribed procedure of making that complaint? That rule making power resides with the speaker or resides with the presiding officer of that particular house. However, whatever rule that speaker or the presiding officer has made in to be followed for this anti-defection, that rule needs to be approved by that particular house within the 30 days, right. So, I hope the rule making power in regard to the anti-defection resides with the presiding officer of that particular house. However, whatever rule that presiding officer has made, that rule needs to have approval of the house within the 30 days, right. So, I hope that point you will have clarity on. So, that is the rule making part. Now, we will be discussing that what is the problem when a speaker or when the presiding officer has been given. So, here who was taking decision that whether a member has been fallen under category, although there is clear cut guideline according to the 52nd constitutional amendment, that what are the activities that a member, elected member or nominated member is indulging into, so that he will be called that he has fallen in the provisions of the schedule 7, but ultimately that will be decided by the decision will be taken by the speaker or the presiding officer of that particular house. Now, what is the problem with that power or equipping this kind of power to the speaker or to the presiding officer? So, these are the problem. First of all, his or her political association, right, in the past or right now as well, even whatever speakers that we do have in Lok Sabha or whatever speaker that you do have in Rajasthan or any kind of state or whatever chairperson in legislative councils that we do have, they have political inclination, they have their own political biasing. Besides that, they also need not to resign once they have assumed the position of the speaker. Rarely it does happen that that particular person has resigned from his own political party. It is because of the biased decision of the Rajasthan, in one particular case recently, in the biased decision of the Rajasthan speaker that was criticized. Rajasthan, if you have been following again the current political development, you would have remembered the case against Sachin Pilot camp had been taken into the Supreme Court by the speaker, not by the Congress party, but by the speaker, and speaker had been reprimanded heavily. A scathing remark were passed by the Supreme Court that, hey speaker, your position or your post was supposed to be neutral, how can you become a party in any these kind of biased cases? So, there was scathing. So, this is the political inclination that I am talking about, this is the political affiliation that I am talking about. So, because he does have now, how his decision will be impacted? Because see, whenever a complaint will be made, suppose a complaint is being made by a opposition member that, hey, we had advised a particular member or our member to vote against the government. Now, because the ruling party has induced a group of opposition member, so those opposition member may not pay heed to their party directive, and rather than opposing the stand of the government on a particular bill or on a particular resolution, they will be voting for the government. And now, when these people from the opposition party are going to the speaker to make this complaint, perhaps speaker will not be entertaining, or perhaps speaker will not be disqualifying those group of members, rather he or she will be sitting on their judgment. Now, in this contrary kind of thing, if the ruling party has made any complaint that, hey, our member, ruling party, any of the MP, member of parliament or member of legislative assembly member, their own member is on-hoving with any kind of opposition, any opposition party, if they are making complaint against their own MP, MLAs, then speaker will immediately act and immediately. And this kind of situation, I am not talking hypothetically, these kind of practical example that we do have. Now, whenever you do have these kind of situation into the newspaper, The Hindu, go get into whether a member is being a group, why on complaint being made to the presiding officer, why speaker or the presiding officer is dilly-dallying. So, you will see, you will find into the background that it would be that dilly-dallying tactics of the presiding officer might be helping the ruling political party. So, why this is happening? It is because of party's affiliation, speakers or the presiding officer's party affiliation, this is happening. Then the second problem is undefined time. In the constitution, it has not been mentioned that in what time these presiding officers are supposed to take decision, whether they should be completing this decision into 3 months, 5 months, 7 months or in a year, and that results into that most of the time speaker generally sits on these, again depending on whether it is favoring to the ruling party, because he himself is from the ruling party, right. So, whether depending on whether it is that decision, sitting on the decision will favor or disfavor, based on that presiding officer will be taking that decision. However, in this regard, recently Supreme Court in January 2020, in this regard Supreme Court has already passed a judgment that although 52nd constitutional amendment says, on one aspect of the 52nd constitutional amendment we did not discuss, 52nd constitutional amendment besides the other provision that we discussed has also said that judiciary will have no power. When speaker is taking decision or the presiding officer is taking the decision, judiciary will have no power to intervene in between. However, Supreme Court in 2020 recently has said that speakers or presiding officer, except, again you will have to be focused, Supreme Court in 2020 in a case, while hearing one case, has delivered one judgment and said that generally except in exceptional circumstances, so that kind of liberty has been extended to the presiding officer, but except that extraordinary circumstances, speakers or the presiding officer should generally take the decision within 3 months time. Now, if they are not taking the decision, if there is no extraordinary situation, if there is no legitimate explanation that is available that why he is not being able to take the decision within the 3 months, then in that case Supreme Court can intervene despite the directive, clear cut directive that has been mentioned into the 52nd constitutional amendment. The judiciary will not be intervening until when? Until speaker has taken the decision, until the chairperson has taken the decision whether that member stand disqualified. Yes, means once they have taken the decision, thereafter, because the judiciary does have this power of the judicial review, and this power of judicial review has already been defined that this is going to be a basic feature of Indian constitution. So, yes, judiciary can intervene later, but until and unless speaker has taken. So, that was something that is mentioned into the 52nd constitutional amendment, but recently in January 2020 by that judgment, judiciary has already clarified that stand that hey, you take the decision within the 3 months except in exceptional circumstances, and if you do not take due to the political motivated reasons, if you are not taking the decision, then we will intervene. So, that decision and in this regard party affiliation, there is practice in Britain or America that the member who is assuming the post of speaker or these kind of neutral post, they are supposed to resign. Although against this resignation some kind of protection again has been given to the speaker. We will not be delving into that what kind of concession or what kind of protection that has been given to, or what kind of benefit that has been extended to people joining this position of speaker, right. So, that will not be delving into. So, this was the problem with the presiding officer's power. Now, whether this presiding officer's power is unbridled, whether their decision is subjected to the judicial review or not. So, finally, it was said, see, 52nd constitutional amendment that we already talked in, right. 52nd constitutional amendment stand was that no, speaker, this judiciary will have no power when speaker or the presiding officer is taking decision, but in Keto Hala or in any kind of decision that speaker has taken, right, judiciary will not have power. But in finally in 1993, while hearing a case that is famously called Keheto Holland case, it was said by the Supreme Court that no, basic feature, this judicial review is basic feature of Indian constitution, and a parliament cannot. So, yes, we do agree that while until and unless the speaker has taken the judgment, right, will not be delving into, but that is the position of Keheto Holland case. As I already told you that in 2020 judiciary has taken another stand, right. So, in Keheto Holland case in 1993 judiciary agreed or Supreme Court agreed that yes, we respect the sentiment of the 52nd constitutional amendment, the stand of the parliament that was taken in 1985, that will not be intervening until speaker and this presiding officer, that is chairperson, has taken the decision. Till then we will be sitting idle, there is no issue at all. But once you have taken the decision, and if any member who has been disqualified or the party whip in whose opinion the member should have been disqualified and you are not disqualified, then in that case if a complaint is coming to us, in that case we will be looking into if your decision was nullified or if your decision is in violation of constitutional principle, or if you have not followed this concept of natural justice in those kind of nature of cases. Once you have delivered the judgment, we will wait until, again I am emphasizing that Supreme Court said that we will wait until you have taken the decision, but once you have delivered the judgment, in that case thereafter we will be looking into from all these angles, whether your decision was influenced, whether your decision was motivated, whether your decision was arbitrary, then we will be taking the decision. So, here in the Keheto Holland case, Supreme Court agreed that yes, we will wait for the speaker, but in January 2020, that is this year, Supreme Court has delivered, because of, see, in 1993 situation was totally different, right, but in 2020 situation is completely, this power of the speaker is being used, this is being abused, this is being misused, right, and in that kind of situation Supreme Court rightly so has taken this judgment that hey speaker, if you are, means earlier our stand was that we will be waiting for, but you are not taking the decision for next 3 years, for you are allowing that person who was supposed to be disqualified, you are allowing him or her to complete his term, whole of the term, even if complaint has been made, you are sitting on that. So, in that kind of situation, I will not allow you to sit on that judgment or decision, right, for 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. I will not allow you. So, that is a right statement, or that is a right thing, that was right stand was the of the Supreme Court. Can the court intervene with the speakers when the speaker's decision is pending? So yes, right now the position is, although in Kihito Holland case, right, the position was that no, will not be intervening until your decision is pending, will be, but in Supreme Court stands 2020 says no, we will be intervening, right. Court wants disqualify, and along with the in the same judgment, court has also suggested, again here this is a suggestion, this is not a directive. So court had suggested Parliament to bring a law and to get away or to do away with this power that has been granted to the speaker or to the presiding officer, and court has suggested Parliament to bring another law and bring a independent tribunal kind of thing, which will be independent of these kind of political influences, so that they can take independent decision. So this is the thing that was the stand that was undertaken. Now we are wrapping up this lecture with 3 or rather 4 MCQ. So this is the first MCQ, second MCQ, third MCQ and fourth MCQ. So these are the 4 MCQ that I am leaving you with, and with this we will be wrapping up the polity. There are 3 chapters that will remain pending, not remain, we will be completing that as and when I will be getting time. That is center state relation, basics of the fundamental right we already have completed, right, article Y approach, but the basics, right, the interlinkages or the introductory part of fundamental right we have not done. So that will be completing, and the third chapter that was pending was on Council of Ministers, right. So that also will be doing, and the fourth chapter is as well, and there was a question from that 4th chapter in this prelim, the preceding year's prelim, that is 2020, that was on this NALSA and SALSA. So the lower judiciary as well had asked you to read itself, but since the questions are being asked, so that we will also be completing. So with this we are wrapping up the polity, right. It has been arduous journey, it was a tedious process, but you guys has been along with. We are planning other courses that will be coming up with that kind of plan, but until we come up with these kind of things, right, till then wait, and till then bye bye to all of you guys, bye bye, thank you.